Hi everyone, Aiden here, the etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and be showing you how to install this ladder from 4Runner for your 2015 Toyota 4Runner. Now the ladder has a weight capacity of 260 pounds. Myself, I'm 240, so I'm getting pretty close to the limit there, but I will say it feels pretty solid. The one downside I have, or complaint I'd have about it, is it's really narrow. My work boots are pretty big, and there's not a whole lot of room for me to actually step on the first few rungs without hitting the vehicle. And then also with how narrow it is, you kind of have to sidestep, and it's just a little awkward to use. But it's a lot less awkward than trying to scramble up the side of your 4Runner to get to the top of the platform if you need to get up there for, let's say, a tent, strapping down some cargo, or if you're just sitting up there to maybe do something like nature photography. Regardless of your reason to get up to the top of your platform, this is going to help you do it. The aluminum and steel construction all throughout is really solid, and even though I don't get a lot of my foot on each rung, as I'm stepping, there's some tread in here that the tread of my boot can help grab into, and it does leave me feeling pretty secure. Again, these are my work boots. They're safety toe shoes, so there's a lot more bulk in that toe box before it actually gets to my foot. So even hiking shoes, or especially tennis shoes, I think would feel a lot better up here. And if you have smaller feet than me, I've got size 13 feet, so if you've got smaller feet, that's probably gonna help a lot too. I think most importantly though, is the fact that this is still gonna work with your lift gate. That's one thing I was a little worried about during the install is, yes, I know it's supposed to fit, but there's really limited clearance. And just seeing it all finished, opened up, it's good to know that you don't have to sacrifice that function of your vehicle. The one thing I will say is the added weight of the ladder does make it so that the struts supporting our lift gate don't push up all the way. You can feel that there's added weight there. And if your shocks are old, you might need to replace them because they might not be able to keep up at all. In our case today though, they're in good shape and they can at least support the weight of the lift gate without lowering. It's just one of those things that as I close it, I can feel it's a lot heavier. And on this first bit here, if I let go, it's just gonna close itself back up rather than wanting to push up to that open position. And of course, with the sliding back glass on your 4Runner, most of this is gonna be perfectly accessible. This takes up just a small amount of room off to the driver's side of your vehicle, but it leaves you available to grab anything out of the back that you might need from the passenger side, because this is really quite narrow. And at this point, you're probably wondering, how's the install? It's really not too bad. There is some minor drilling required, but the thing I like about that is all the drilling is done on the underside of the lift gate. So it's gonna be pretty well weather protected. Everything up top doesn't modify anything. It just sticks to it and hooks into the lip. But we'll see all of that a little bit more in detail during the install process. So follow along and we'll show you how we got this set up. Now, the very first step of your installation is gonna be to mostly assemble the ladder. There's the main structure with the rungs, your top bracket, and then a portion of the bottom bracket here. The section that goes underneath your lift gate, that we're gonna leave off for now. So this is what that finished product should look like, and you do wanna have this fully tightened up. Now up on the spoiler trim here, you'll notice that there's a lip. If you've got the 4Runner platform, it's just on the inside edge, or on that rubber weather strip, it's right in line with that. So this portion here, and you wanna measure 100 millimeters or 10 centimeters in from that. So for us, it's gonna be sitting, I'll try to keep my hand out of the way as best I can. It's gonna be sitting right there on the edge of where I laid down this painter's tape. And you do wanna put some sort of masking tape, painter's tape down like that to help mark your location where the ladder's gonna sit. We can take that mostly assembled ladder and hook it in right next to that painter's tape. Once we're down here, we can check to make sure that the ladder is level. Basically just making sure it's not crooked any certain way. And once you have it sitting where you like it, you can mark it with another piece of painter's tape. I'm gonna go to the left inside edge here. With the ladder removed, you can open up the back hatch, and right by where that masking tape or painter's tape should be sitting is this plastic cutout for a handle. We're just gonna pop that out. I'll go through and wipe that down and clean it off because it's a pretty wet day today. But on this inside edge here is where our mounting bracket's gonna sit. So that bracket is going to have 4 holes up top, 3 holes on the bottom. The 3 holes in the bottom are what will eventually serve as our mounting locations. And you want this bracket to line up with that painter's tape that we laid down, just like it did up top. Now the kit does also include this rubber strip that goes around the lip of your tailgate just to protect it from metal on metal contact. That's gonna sit just a little bit wider than that bracket. So I did peel back the painter's tape a bit so we could lay it down and just have a bit of overlap on both sides. So when it's sitting up here, there's a little bit of up and down movement. I'm gonna push it up as far as it'll go and mark my locations to drill using a punch. Now the thing here that you want to just be careful of is you don't have anything move on you. If it does, move it back, get those aligned where you had them before continuing. Now we'll start by drilling small pilot holes before going up to the final size of 7 millimeters. Once those holes are drilled out to their final size, go back through and cover up any bare metal with something like some clear coat or even paint if you wanted to. Just something to protect that bare metal so we don't open ourselves up to rust and corrosion over time. Now on the inside where we removed that handle, there's going to be a lot of open space where we can put this backing plate. And that's what the bracket will bolt to. So it'll come just as this steel plate, and you can pinch these threaded nut inserts to basically attach them to these square holes on that plate. So pinch it, push it in, and that'll lock it. Once all 3 are in, you can slide that back and start to thread into it. So we'll slide that backing plate in, hold it with those fingers, and get it lined up as best I can. Once everything's looking good, I'll put the mounting plate up, hold it with my thumb, and then get my hardware started by hand. We'll go back through and get that hardware fully tightened up with a 4 millimeter or a 5/32 Allen key. And when we're happy with how it's sitting, we can replace that handle and remove the tape we laid down for alignment earlier. And before we get our ladder hooked in up top, it does have some double-sided adhesive to help hold it from the top, as well as that hooked end. You want to make sure that the surface is clean so that that adhesive can actually stick properly. So grab some alcohol, wipe it down, and let it dry off a little bit so your mounting surface is prepped. All right, we'll just hook that ladder in at the location that we marked. Now it's very tricky. Once you do start to lay it down, that adhesive's gonna wanna stick, so try to get it lined up as best you can before letting it touch anything. The adhesive covers a lot of that, so just be careful. And once you've got it where you like it, lay it down, make sure it's hooked on properly, and check everything down at the bottom to see if those holes are lining up too. Before we get anything pressed in super firmly, I'm going to get that hardware at the bottom through. Now I did actually go back through and leave this bottom plate loose just to give ourselves more room to line up the ladder and that bottom plate. Your hardware combination for the 4 mounting locations there is going to be these longer bolts. You'll pass those through. You've got aluminum spacer blocks that will go for all of the bolt locations, and then a lock nut on the other side. So I'll get that started. And repeat that for all remaining mounting locations. Now the reason we're doing this with the lift gate open, it might seem a bit goofy, but once you get in here and start to tighten it down, it's gonna give you a lot more clearance underneath because it's not in the way of our bumper. So it'll just help you make sure that you don't hit your paint and you actually have room to work. With all the hardware loosely started though, you can go back through with your Allen key and socket and start to tighten it up. Now I'm gonna be bouncing around between all the hardware here so that I can evenly tighten it. This is really where it's gonna come in handy to have the lift gate open because again, it makes more room for your tools and not hitting your bumper. And the last thing to do once everything's tightened down is to go back and just add these decorative caps to any of the hardware locations that can get it. That's just gonna cover up any of those open-ended threads and just give it a bit of a cleaner look. But then that'll do it for your look at and installation of this ladder from 4Runner. Thanks for watching.